Chapter 14. Treadon Nelson. Treadon fumbled with his napkin as he sat back down at the table. Jaren was just coming back out of the bathroom, and Xander Calivan almost ran into his son as they met in the hall outside the elevator. Treadon's seat was on the far side of the table, so he watched as they walked back across the restaurant together. The energy between them had changed. Jaren was quiet, almost sullen. Xander fidgeted with the single button on his suit coat. The waiter placed a fourth course in front of him, a piece of meat drizzled in fancy sauce with some tiny basil leaves sprinkled on top. Treadon tucked the cloth napkin in the collar of his shirt and then took it out and laid it on his lap. Then he folded it up and put it back by his plate. He didn't know how to hide his own nervousness. He shouldn't have followed Xander into the stairwell. He wondered if Xander saw him sneak out when the conversation stalled, but the conversation left him sweaty and a little shaken. Xander had people killed to start the company? No one had said it directly, but the guy called Vox had made it clear. If Xander knew he was listening, would he try to shut him up? "Can we talk about it?" Jaren spoke as he entered the small glass room with his father. Treadon put his napkin back on his lap. He picked up his fork and knife to cut the pieces of meat, even though he could have eaten it in one bite. "The discussion is over. My decision is final." "What if I don't even want to play football?" "I won't let you throw away your talent. There will always be business opportunities in the future, but not a chance like this, to play for a college, to experience the dorm life, to get an education." Jaren hit the table, bouncing the silverware against the plates with a clang. Xander convulsed, jumping at the noise like it had been an explosion. Even Jaren noticed his dad's reaction. Some of his anger drained away. Treadon felt like he'd been caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. He tried to keep his eyes on the food as he cut a second tiny bite, but his eyes kept glancing up, taking in the father and his son, the businessman and his employee, the man with the secrets, and the boy who thought he wanted more. "I've sent some tapes to Oregon, and the coach is impressed. He's coming to watch a game himself. You'll get signed on, no problem." "Oregon? Are you kidding?" "I've locked up a spot for you in one of the highest-ranking teams in the country. You should be grateful." Treadon wasn't even trying to read Xander when the unsaid words came through, the way Xander shifted, the way he held his fork too tight. "And you should get as far away from me as you can." Rachel had wanted more information about XC Energy, but Treadon wasn't sure this was the kind of scoop she wanted. From the way Xander was acting, this might as well be the next Watergate, a kind of story that was dangerous, the kind of information that got you killed. "I want to stay here," Jaren said, as close to desperate as Treadon had ever seen him. "I want you to hire me full-time after I graduate. We talked all summer. XC Energy is at the top of technological advancements. I'll be out of touch if I go away for 4 years. Things have changed." Xander stood. He made the motion of buttoning the suit coat that was already buttoned. "My decision is final. You'll play football, or you'll be cut off. You'll do as I say, or you'll get nothing from me." Xander looked at his son. His face was stone, but Treadon could see veins of weakness streaking through Xander's hard exterior. There was a strange note of pride, a strain of frustration, and an underlying smell of fear. "Business is business," Xander said. "Technology only changes the media we use to conduct it. You're a natural. You won't miss a thing by going to college. It will be a great start. A great opportunity." He pushed back his chair and opened the glass door into the main restaurant. He paused for a moment before turning back. "Jaren, I gave up everything for this business. I don't want you to have regrets 20 years down the road." He held Jaren's gaze for another moment, and then left the restaurant. They sat in silence, Jaren playing with his food, Treadon wondering if he should cut the last portion in half or eat the whole thing. He glanced at Jaren. "Rachel's going to be disappointed," Treadon said, pulling his friend back to the present. "What do you mean?" Jaren asked. "I think she was hoping the sharp climate of the business world would shrink your head down a few sizes. A college football star? They'll have to customize the helmet." Jaren let the corner of his mouth tilt up. "He might change his mind. He has a habit of changing his mind." The last sentence held a note of bitterness. Broken promises. Jaren shoved his fork and plate away from him. What just happened? Treadon thought of the way his mom had talked the other night about pushing him to get the money to go away for college. No idea. My mom wants me to go to college too. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? You know, parents shedding tears of regret and worry while we fly from the nest with confidence and excitement? At least that's how it was in the 80s. That got a full smile from Jaren, but it was extinguished as quickly as a candle being blown out. You know what Rachel's going to say? No. She's going to say I told you so. She never trusted my dad. Never thought he'd really turned a corner. Treadon thought of the way Vox had said Xander changed. What did Rachel know about Xander's past? She's wrong, Jaren said, squeezing his napkin like a sponge. He has changed. He may not know it, but he wants me to stay and work with him. I know he does. From what Treadon read in Xander's face before he left, Jaren was right about part of it. He was talking about my mom, you know. Jaren tossed his napkin on his full plate. What? Treadon hadn't heard Jaren talk about his mom in years. He mentioned once that she left them when he was still a baby, but that was it. When he said he gave up everything for the business, he was talking about my mom. He chose the business over her. Treadon was at a loss for words. All he could do was nod and shake his head like a bobblehead. Let's get out of here. Jaren stood up and headed for the elevator. Treadon followed. He didn't want to tell Jaren that he was wrong, or explain his unfounded suspicions. It didn't make sense, but from the expressions and movements of Xander Calivan, Treadon was sure he'd read something different. Xander hadn't said those words mourning a woman he hadn't seen in 17 years. Xander was mourning another loss, regretting the fact that he'd sacrificed everything for his business, including the son that was sitting right in front of him.